Let me offer you a choice. The first option is you can have $1 million today and another $1 million every year for 25 years. When you get the money, it's put into a safe deposit box and sits there. The second option is that I give you $1 million today and that's it. But that $1 million earns 2% interest each month for 25 years. So after 1 month, you have your $1 million plus another 2%. And after 2 months, you get 2% again, and so on. Which option do you want? Take a second and think about it. $1 million a year for 25 years, or $1 million once that earns 2% interest each month. Let's see what happens with both scenarios. The $1 million per year scenario is easy to calculate. It's just $1 million per year 25 times, which leaves you with $25 million in your safety deposit box after 25 years. The other scenario starts out slow and lags far behind. After 1 month, you have $1 million plus 2% of that, which is $1 million plus $20,000. The next month looks a little better. You earn 2% of $1.02 million or $20,400. Notice that your interest is a little higher this month. You make $20,400 instead of $20,000. This is because you're earning interest not only your initial million, but also on the $20,000 interest you earned last month. This is a phenomenon we call compounding. This is the fact that when you earn interest, it keeps getting bigger and bigger the longer you hold it, because it earns interest on itself. This keeps happening. Let's skip ahead to year 11. Now under the first plan, you have $11 million. In the other plan, your money's ballooned to $10.77 million. You've almost caught up. The safe deposit box after 25 years leaves you with $25 million, like we said. But the 2% monthly interest scenario gives you almost $300 million. This shows the miracle of compounding. By earning interest on your interest, you can end up with lots of money. This raises an important question. Are you thinking about retirement yet? Now, this may seem like a pretty silly question to ask a high school student, and maybe you're wondering what it has to do with the thought experiment we just did. But in fact, the two are closely related. There's one very important lesson from this application. You should start thinking about your retirement a lot sooner than you realize. One day you'll thank yourself if you do. That's because the earlier you start saving, the more you'll eventually have. This compounding effect can work out to be quite large. Imagine, for example, you'll work from age 22 to age 70, and you can earn 7% interest on any money you save. Consider two approaches to saving. The first approach is you start saving right away at age 22. You save $3,000 a year for the first 15 years of your working life. Then you stop saving altogether for the rest of your life, and you just let the interest compound. The second approach is you don't save anything for the first 15 years. And then when you're making more money at your job, you invest $3,000 a year for the next 33 years. The second approach is more typical of what folks do in reality. Most folks don't start thinking about retirement when they're in their 20s. Once retirement gets closer, they freak out a little and start saving more. When you hit 70, under the second approach of wait now and save later, you'll have a lot of money, $356,000. Not bad. But guess what? Under the first approach, you get twice as much, $703,000. That is, despite the fact that you save for half as many years, you end up with twice as much when you retire. Why? Because the early savings gets to compound for longer, and you earn more interest on your interest. The longer you save, the more compounding you get. So when thinking about retirement, save early and save often. That leads to one other issue about retirement savings. You know you should save money, but where should you save it? Basically, when you think about saving for retirement, you consider many different options. Each involves thinking about the trade-off between higher interest rates and riskier interest rates. Some options are very safe. You'll get your money back no matter what. This includes putting your money in the bank, which is guaranteed by the government. Or you can buy a bond from the government. If you buy a bond, you give some amount of money to the federal government, and it gives you back your money plus some interest after a set period of time. For example, you can buy a U.S. bond today for $100, and the government will pay you back that $100 plus interest of $2. These really safe options tend to have a low interest rate. Other options are riskier, but have a higher interest rate. You can invest in corporate bonds. That's just like a U.S. bond, but you're now giving money to a company, like Apple or Facebook, instead of the government. You get paid back as long as the company doesn't go bankrupt. But if the company goes bankrupt, you may get nothing. Corporate bonds are riskier, but they pay a higher interest rate. Or you can invest in stock, which is the riskiest of all. Your investment goes up and down with the company performance and goes to zero if the company goes bankrupt. So it's even riskier than a bond. But stocks traditionally have the highest interest rate of all. This table shows the rates of return for U.S. bonds, corporate bonds, and general stock after 1 year. The stocks give you a higher return, but that doesn't mean they're better. That's because this choice involves a trade-off between a higher rate of return and having more risk on your money. Evaluating this trade-off depends on how you feel about risk, which we'll talk about later on in the course. But we do have one important lesson to offer. Whatever you do, you should diversify. Within bond and stocks categories, there are risky and less risky options. Think about stocks. Some companies will hit it big. If you invested in Apple 20 years ago, you'd be rich today. But other companies like the DeLorean car company we talked about a few lectures ago will bomb. If you invested in DeLorean Motors, you'd have lost all your money. The problem is that it's very hard to know which companies are going to succeed and which are going to fail. You can guess, but if you guess wrong, you end up bankrupt. What can you do to guard against this? You can diversify. Buy a little bit of every company so that on average, you get the high return of the stock market without all the extra risk of your particular investment bombing out. In the stock market, we do this by buying what's called an index fund. That is an investment that holds a tiny bit of every company's stock. The bottom line is you should try to put aside a little money, even if you're still in high school. Talk to a parent or teacher about how to open an account and watch your money compound.